The Amazon River is the largest, widest, and most voluminous river in the world, stretching over 6,400 kilometers or 3,980 miles. But I should mention that, in terms of length alone, the Nile River is just slightly longer than the Amazon. But overall, in terms of width and water volume, the Amazon still holds the record. The Amazon River starts in Peru. It passes through Colombia and Brazil and empties into a huge delta in the Atlantic Ocean. In short, it covers a really long distance. But with all this length and grandeur, have you ever wondered why not even a single bridge has been built over it? Today, we're going to solve this mystery together. Why is it that on the Amazon, even in today's modern and technological world, there isn't a single bridge? Just imagine you're standing next to a river that's about 2/3 the length of the European continent. All around you is a dark, damp, and dense jungle. The sound of water, the calls of birds, and strange animals, the smell of damp earth. Everything feels brand new. But for a moment, you feel like you want to cross from this side of the river to the other. But there's no sign of a bridge. Not even a simple wooden beam exists. There's only a deep, wide river with a wild current. Do you think no one has ever thought of building a bridge over the Amazon River? No, the story is more complicated than that. Let's go and look at the reasons one by one. The width of the Amazon River is normally about 1 to 5 kilometers, but during the rainy season, it unbelievably reaches around 24 to 50 kilometers. Yes, I'm talking about its width, and that happens in just a few weeks. On top of that, sometimes even the river's course, water temperature, and even the color of the water change. Of course, during the dry seasons, the river's width decreases again and a smaller version of it appears. Still, because of these seasonal changes, the soil along the banks of the Amazon River is very soft. That's why any foundation you build might loosen underneath and settle, causing the bridge to collapse. Let's move on to the second reason. During the Amazon's heavy rains, the ground can't absorb all that water at once. As a result, the water accumulates and gradually turns into what we call a swamp. But don't think of a swamp as just a dangerous and useless place. In fact, swamps are the beating heart of nature because they act like a natural dam, holding back floods, and they also filter and clean muddy water, turning into a home for all kinds of living creatures. From frogs and snakes to pink dolphins, rare birds, and even jaguars that like to lurk around there. Now imagine you want to build a bridge next to these swamps. Well, you'd have to dry out part of the swamp so you could put the bridge's foundations on solid ground. But drying out the swamps means destroying the lives of all those animals, and in fact, an entire ecosystem. The third reason is that rain brings other problems too. It raises the river's water level by about 13 to 15 meters. That's why the bridge's foundations have to be built very deep, which of course is very expensive. Of course, bridges have been built over deep rivers before. For example, the Padma Bridge in Bangladesh is a massive structure, and its foundation is 1,273 meters deep, but the soil there is more stable. Whereas the soil of the Amazon River erodes easily, and if a bridge were to be built over it, it would have to be constructed using floating structures called pontoons. However, pontoons aren't practical on a river whose depth can change whenever it wants. So, this option doesn't work either. Let's move on to the next reason. The Amazon rainforest stretches across 9 countries and is so vast and dense that if a bridge were built over the river, it would just connect one part of the jungle to another. And on top of that, the bridge might even get lost in the forest because of how fast the plants grow. On the other hand, building a bridge would require cutting and removing parts of the jungle's branches and trees, which would again lead to the loss of habitat for the Amazon's unique animals, especially the birds and squirrels that nest in the trees. And the fifth and final reason is that, except for a few small villages that are right next to the Amazon River, most people actually live around the Amazon's tributaries, not along the main river itself. In fact, the larger cities have been built along the Amazon's tributaries, like the Rio Negro or the Napo River in Peru, and only these two rivers in the Amazon basin actually have bridges built over them. On the other hand, the lack of roads and highways in the Amazon region also makes building a bridge seem pointless. It's interesting to know that in the 1970s, people had all sorts of ideas for exploring and exploiting the Amazon. That's why they decided to build a highway that would cover the entire Amazon basin from east to west. The highway was supposed to be called the Trans-Amazonian Highway, but numerous problems like high costs, soil conditions, and floods made building over 2,000 kilometers of road through a dense jungle so difficult that the project was left unfinished. Even now, the roads in the Amazon region are either underwater or full of potholes and mud. What's even more interesting is that this situation has created a cycle. Because the river is hard to access, people don't go there to live because no one else goes. The roads don't get built either, and so the cycle just keeps going. Now, let's take a look at a challenging topic. After all, a small number of people do live near the Amazon River. But when there are no bridges, how do they cross the Amazon River? You might not believe it, but here, an old yet reliable invention has come to people's aid. And that is none other than the boat. That's right, the Amazon River is completely navigable, and people here, instead of using motorcycles, cars, or buses, can use boats, and this means of transportation is totally normal for them. Along the Amazon River, there are all kinds of boats, rowboats, speedboats, even passenger ships. But the most interesting of all is a hospital boat, which is actually a boat that sails around the Amazon waters and provides services to the people living along the river. There's even a boat bank where you can take care of your banking while enjoying the incredible view of the Amazon River. Now that's truly pure creativity. But there's a strange phenomenon in the Amazon that you can only see from a boat. The unmixed waters of the Rio Negro and Solimões rivers. These two rivers are tributaries of the Amazon that flow side by side for about 8 kilometers or 5 miles. But their waters don't mix because the speed and temperature of the water are different. One is brown and the other is darker. It's like pouring coffee and Coca-Cola side by side. They've named this phenomenon the meeting of waters. Interestingly, the Amazon isn't the only river in the world without a bridge. The Congo River, the second longest river in Africa, has only one bridge. Some geologists even believe that during the Gondwana period, when all the continents were joined together, the Amazon and Congo rivers were actually one river, connected to each other. On the other hand, the eastern side of the Thames River in London also has no bridges. Meanwhile, the western side of the Thames, which is narrower, has about 33 bridges, but the eastern side has none. The reason is that in the 19th century, transport companies said building a bridge over the eastern Thames would be expensive because it's a shipping route, so the bridges would have to be very tall for ships to pass through. Overall, building a bridge over the Amazon River has really been on our minds over the past couple of weeks. But you asked us to make this video. And when we researched the topic of this video with our friends, we realized that building a bridge over the Amazon, aside from the cost, could also be an environmental disaster. Wildlife, amazing phenomena like the meeting of the waters, and thousands of untouched and undiscovered ancient sites, all of these would be destroyed by building a bridge. Although, if people could build a bridge over the Amazon while considering every aspect and respecting nature, discovering the depths of these legendary forests would truly be incredible. What do you think? In your opinion, should a bridge be built over the Amazon despite all the challenges, or not? Share your thoughts in the comments. But the bridge itself is a very practical structure whose history goes back to the Neolithic era. The oldest bridge that still stands is a small stone bridge called Arcadio in Greece, which was built more than 3,000 years ago. That means, back when the wheel was just starting to catch on, humans had already built such a cool structure to cross a river. However, building a bridge over the Amazon River would mean changing the secrets, untouched environment, and ecosystem of the Amazon rainforest. So, even if building a bridge over the Amazon is possible with our knowledge, it would probably be the biggest ethical mistake for nature. The lesson we take from this video is exactly that sometimes we shouldn't ruin something grand and fascinating with engineering structures. Some profound secrets should truly remain as such, so they can continue to inspire us to show respect, cultivate wonder, and dream truly big dreams.